So, you know, from early childhood, since I started to walk with the Lord, I had a brother and sister. We just had a real passion for evangelism. And it was in communist days, so it was not quite easy, so there was even more fun, little fear, you know, when you were trying to do something, will they catch us or not? But it was a real zeal, and in that time I came to America for the first time, and I saw the power of Christian music. Before in Polish churches, usually it was very traditional music and so on, and here I was exposed. I stayed with leaders of continental singers that in that time were quite big in the States. And, you know, 21-year-old man was a conductor of 120 people ensemble with the brass, with instruments, and they were so powerful, so great. And in Poland in those days, when you were less than 40, you couldn't do anything in the church except for cleaning the floors, you know. So this was for me like a novelty. Wow. And then we came back and we formed a Christian band. Sometimes I say we were the best Christian band in Poland because we are the only one. And then we really were trying to be effective, and this was a special era where it was such a novelty that people would flock to the churches. There were lots of people, and we immediately faced the need for having a follow-up work. So when hundreds of people were responding, we knew we cannot end up like that we just say bye-bye, God bless you, but there must be a program. So we started to develop correspondence Bible courses. In those days, copying machines were not allowed in our country, so it had to be rewritten on a typewriters with a carbon paper. We have done 60,000 pages like that. Not me, you know. I learned very early that it's better to let others do the job, you know. And that's where is the beginning of management, you know. And the thing is that this grew up because there was a coming pressure to have some recorded music. We have been dreaming about starting a professional recording studio. And we really didn't know exactly what we talk about, but there was some kind of a direct vision we should really put something about it. And again, it's a saga that would need much more time than 4 sentences I must reserve for Jesus Net for the end. But this was something that we really finally were able to open in 1986. It means still in the communist days. After 8 years of working and planning and all the legal work and struggle, because it was sealed by the police. There were different stages of the whole development. But to make a long story short, it came to being before the changes, before the freedom came to Poland. And from business perspective, this was stupid. Because here we are in a country with the equipment worth a lot of money. It was very, very well equipped. And the basic salary in Poland was $20 a month. So how much could you charge for a studio if if people have as much or as little money as that? But the Lord knew something that we didn't even dream about. That just 3 short years later, freedom will come to our country and we'll be already established. With a facility that was renowned all over the country, because this was the only full professional studio in Poland in those days. It was built with a fraction of cost, because when we were building, everything was so much cheaper. And a studio was established, so we started to grow its operations, distribute Christian music in Poland. We put cassettes, and we have been growing the cassette department. There was a growing need for it, so we grow it, and we grow it, and we grow it. And we grow it to such an extent, and I have learned many hard lessons, that life is changing and standards are changing. So one of the first learnings I have made in those days is don't wait too long with selling what you have, even for a low price. Because now if today you would like to buy a beautiful audio cassette plant, I can sell it for $5. You want it? Anybody? Well, you know, everything changed. Standards are gone. And life, the more you get into it, you discover that life is a process of change. and particularly in media. And just to finish our story, we knew that, well, this audio business was doing quite well, but we knew that if we are serious about evangelism, audio cassettes are not the very best thing to do. Why? Because who listens to Christian music? People who are already convinced. Christians. So if you want to reach people from outside, you really should find a better way. And that's why we decided to go into radio. And we had incredible dreams and hopes with the radio. And it was a very long process. We had much too little money to do it properly. And this started a very difficult period for our organization. We are really bleeding, and it was really hard. We wanted to evangelize, we wanted to be very good, just a little bit better than ABC and BBC together. And it didn't work. We had too few listeners. We were losing money like crazy. And we had to prayerfully reconsider. And Christopher, who just is with your group now, but he left the room, he took over being a president of our radio networks, and he really has made amazing difference, because he has totally changed the programming direction. We switched the formatting of a radio from an explicit Christian American standard into local radio station system, and the audience numbers increased by 25 times. And radio is profitable. Radio is very well known in some markets. It's #1. Do I like it? No. Why? Because this radio is not for me. I prefer to listen to my favorite CDs, to music I like. You perhaps heard about some people, you know, old people like Michael W. Smith or some others. You know, that's what I like. But radio, if you do radio, it's for your audience. So if you want to have audience, you must play what the audience likes and not what you like. And we have learned it. But then miraculously, this whole thing was compensated and we added at the time this whole internet thing. And the JesusNet, it's a network, it's not an organization. It's a network, it's a cooperative group of some incredibly brilliant people who put all their best ideas and efforts and share them for free. And I am talking really the best. And Eric Sellerier, who started it all, a Frenchman, he's simply a genius, you know. He's a Leonardo da Vinci of today. And his ideas are just amazing, you know. 9 months ago, he started a newsletter that he sends out, very short phrases. It's called Everyday Miracle. Every day he gets 500 new subscribers to it. He has now 185,000 people who are receiving it, and 84% open it every day, and 11% open it every second day. And when he put there was this anniversary this year in January, the first anniversary of the Charlie, you know, the event, the terrorist there in France. He put an article that was saying, "Muslims, we Christians love you." And this was rewritten by all the liberal media papers on the front pages. And he had 4 million views to his page in one day. Not bad. They started also a news portal, Christian news portal, in French. And in 1 week's time, they had 120 million opened news and 24 million responses to something. It's now. There's really a revival to happen in France, I tell you. It's amazing what's happening there. It's a new kind of a flow of the Spirit. It's a new form. It's not a traditional form of a traditional church, but there are so many people who are rejecting the old models, but they are still in the need of a savior. So, you know, and just a few months ago, the board of JesusNet was joined by a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Barry. He's Belgian, she's French. They just 6 months ago, they sold 90% of the company they grow in 35 years. That was called Euro Media Group. That is #1 media company in Europe. They have 38 helicopters, 42 TV studios, you know, the big things. Unbelievable. And now they sold everything, and they want to produce Christian programs to reach the world for Christ. So, you know, that's why I'm saying it. I am not soliciting here, don't be afraid. But if you are interested, you know, you can always come and say, how can I plug in? Because there are some incredible people who are much, much wiser. And because I learned long ago that I don't need to be the wisest guy, there is always a need for implementers. And because I am an engineer, I really like to make things happen. Henryk, who is a genius, he is very poor in execution. And there are several other people who are having great ideas, but they cannot make it happen. And I like to make people make things done, to finish, to make it happen, to put up a structure. So, after this introduction that took us half of our time, I will just simply come to the subject. Some of the basic things I have learned over the years, what is really important in managing a company. We are not a big company at all. It's nothing like the Euro Media. They were giving jobs to 60,000 people at one time. So, you know, 12,000 events, 6 countries, 40 companies that they owned. We are totally different league, and we have altogether 36 full-time people, 23 working for radio, 13 working here in Wisła for studio, multimedia, and internet development. I'll talk about it. So, what are some of the basic learnings that you young people perhaps would like to know to avoid some of our mistakes? Some important factors that I have listed also in the sheet. I believe you have it in your files, digital files. The first thing is speed in adapting, or even better, in leading trends. Don't be afraid of a change. It's a natural tendency to like what you know and to do what you have done yesterday. It's a secure area. I mentioned before, you know, with audio cassettes. When audio cassettes were dying, we are still having full warehouses. And instead of selling it for half price, we said, no, it would be stupid. So we had to damage thousands of audio cassettes. Too late, too long. The era was over. You should have sold it when it had still some value. Change. Right now, I read yesterday that Samsung decided to stop, and LG has done it a year ago, stop manufacturing optical players. So there will be no more DVDs, no more CDs, players. Apple was the first one who threw out a CD-ROM out of the box. Change. Did I like it? Of course not. Because we are selling all that stuff. So what I am doing now? Well, I have some good idea. And it will be even better than what we have done so far. But, you know, the thing is, because there is always something what comes after it. So be sure you plug in yourself into new trends as soon as they are still new. Because as we all know, the curve of adopting, it takes time to, some people are very fast, early adopters. Some are just with the crowd, and then there is a slow adopters, then there is a long line, and then there is church. You know, that's the tragedy. Many churches are proud of being conservative. I'm not talking about theology now. I saw in America, in one place, in front of a church, a big banner with an old guy with his King James Bible in his hand, and there was a slogan, "We have not changed even a bit in last 50 years." I saw it. And you know, what can you say about a church like that? Was Jesus cultivating Jewish forms of Moses? You know, come on, let's be normal. And change is part of our life. And the faster we understand it, even when you are older, it doesn't bother me. I had my pains. I couldn't believe some things when we had to abandon them. But that's life, sorry, you know. And in our culture, in Europe, in Poland, for example, a family home was like a holy temple. In America, they change houses 5 times a year. Nobody bothers. And for us, you know, when I remember we have been short very much of money, and one of our American friends said, "Well, why didn't you sell your house?" And for us, this was like the biggest sin, you know, come on. Whoa, what do you mean, you know, for little money, house, you know, all the memories. Well, for memories, the best thing is photographs. You know. So, speed in adapting, or even better, in leading trends, thinking outside the box. That's one of the key needs of a leader. One of the definitions of a leader I like very much is that a leader is a person who sees consequences of his actions more in the future than people around him. So if you are here on the leadership forum, I assume you are all leaders, that's what you should do. That's why you are up front, because you know where you are going. And don't be afraid to have big dreams, you know. If you don't know how to do it, go to Bob Beal. The second thing I have learned, very, very important, utilizing the wisdom and potential of all the staff, including the youngest. It's a very, very simple thing, and some people have problems with it. Because I am the boss, I know it the best. It's very seldom true. That's why really listening, as somebody said, when you hire a person, you have his hands to work, but you have a bonus, you also get his brain. So let people use their brains. They must notice that they are being listened to, and if in a brainstorming situation you will find out they are really good, why not using it? And give them credit. That's not a problem. It's the simplest way, if you manage a group of people, to keep everybody happy, is to be fair. To say, you know, you, Yaroslav, you really have done a splendid job. You know, Johnny, you are great behind the camera. You know, really, thank you for doing it. You know, it cost me nothing. Well, 20 seconds. But, you know, the thing is that it really is good to use wisdom, particularly with the new technologies. Usually when your kids turn to be 15, you discover that they can better sort out your computer cases than you can. Just let them go. Why not? I love it. Delegation is another key, you know. I am generally a lazy person, and And I enjoy living in the second quarter, you know, in the time management chart. It means doing important things, but not urgent things. I just enjoy it. It's fun. It's planning, it's strategizing, it's meeting people, relation building. And I do it most of my time. Why? Because somebody else is working hard. It's delegated. Yes. And that's the beauty of management. You just let people do. Everybody wants to be given a right to do what he was asked for, without telling him, without micromanagement from the central position. So, using the wisdom and potential of all this stuff, you'd be surprised how many there are stories, and there are many books, particularly American books, who tell the stories about, you know, a lady in a shop that was at the counter, and she told the owner of the huge company where they should place some of the best-selling goods, because they were in the final back corner of the shop. And you know, when they brought it up front, you know, their profits went 20 times, blah, 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 typical American story. You know, why? Because they listened to the lady who was at the counter, and they gave her a special premium of, I think, $100,000. Why? Because it was her advice. She knew it. So be open to everybody. Then, the third very important rule out of 5. Following the mission, staying tuned to your chosen commitment. You know, in Christian world, our main commitment is to the Lord. And this is really the key of being fruitful, because if we don't have a source of power directly from the Scripture, directly from the Lord, then what can we share? And being aware that our spiritual ministry will be as good as our spiritual life, it's a key. Staying focused. Yes, forms may change every day. Sometimes even organizations with whom we cooperate, we give our time. Sometimes even organizations may change. But our commitment to the Lord is true. Also to the truth. That's why it's so good to listen to some solid teaching of John Piper. Because he is revealing the truth that we have been reading many times in a form that really rings a bell. At least, you know, today was just knockout. Fabulous. So that's a commitment I have made. Yes, I want to serve the Lord. He is my priority. I have given him my life. I will giving him my money. I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be influential. I really want to serve. And then he is multiplying the whole outcome, because he is the one who gives the strength. He is the one to give the resolution, the things. And you know, so it's just staying focused, not just forgetting because there is an incredible business opportunity or something. Yes, it's absolutely right to be in a marketplace. And I know that on this track you talk a lot about people who are working in secular media, and that's fantastic, because working in secular media, in some cases you have much better chance to influence the world than trying to do something Christian that nobody is interested in. So, but again, in every case, it's you and relationship with Jesus what makes your media Christian. Not the name tag, not the business card you will show somebody. It's your heart. And number 4, true caring for staff and customers for their best. People are desperate to find understanding, both in the ministry when you try to bring them to Christ, but also in regular cooperation with the people. If you have staff people who really have given a lot to help you accomplish your company goals, make sure you really take good care of them. Starting with the money. I really don't like technical organizations that are pushing people to collect money by themselves. And yes, there are some organizations that are doing it very well. Campus Crusade, one of them, that's their model. Several others. It's so easy to tell people, well, okay, find your donors, be happy. As a manager, I really take this responsibility on myself. Because that's one of the important things to do. Why? Because I want people to work, not to look for money. You get so much more out of people when they know you care. How many you have asked your people who are under you, or when have you been asked by people who are above you, how are you doing financially? How old is your car? What's your plan? Do you have kids? Well, they know you have kids, but, how are you coping with it? Asking some very normal questions, not just for the knowledge, because a book told you, but because you are really interested in people's lives. And then respond to it. Yes, increase money. It's your boss. If you cannot make it, resign. Because you will bring people to frustration. And so many Christian organizations are full of people who are highly frustrated. Big name organizations, I know really a lot. There are at least 5 organizations I can recall now. I could bring their names, of course, I will not do it for obvious reasons, where I met people who said, Henry, if you want me, I'm on a plane tomorrow with my family. Why? Because a strange culture in some organizations developed. A guilt trip. Yes, you must do it for the Lord. Of course. But let's be normal. People must live according to the standards of the very country. Why it's easy to tell me this? Because we live in Poland, where the standard of living is 40% of average European Union. And when we do services for the West, we are still very competitive. That's how we make our living. And but really taking care of people so that they know it's not just a one-day adventure. Why? Because if you invest in a staff worker, you put a lot of time and money into him, and you don't want to lose him. He must like what he's doing. It's a tremendous investment. On this conference, I brought 8 people with me. And I tell you, Greg didn't give us a stipend. He said, Henry, you can take care of that. I didn't like it. But, that's the case. Because people really need to see something more than their everyday work. Also, when I look at my track of my growth as a leader, as I said in the very beginning, a significant part of what I learned is by meeting some incredible men of God. So, if I want my staff to grow, let's give them an opportunity of meeting incredible people of God. Let's send them to conferences. Far away, close, depends. Let's send them on a mission trip. Last week I was with my wife in Romania, we had a team in Bosnia, and we have a team in Lithuania. Wonderful, everybody came with a big smile. Yes, we covered all the costs, including hotels, everything. Why? Because that's normal life. If you send somebody, you pay his expenses. And they came rejoicing, they know they want to do more, they want to serve more. They give many more than 8 hours a day, because they love what they do. So that's the 4th point. And the 5th point is offering stability and consistency to the organization and staff. So that people, because that's number 1 concern of people, perhaps not very young, but when they are more than 40, 50, they question, what will happen with us. And this is a fair question. Am I needed in an organization? What's my role? Am I not being evaluated by some automatic machine somewhere? And they would say, well, it's better to have 2 young people for half of my salary than to keep me. That's what happens all the time in media. Media are extremely bad on loyalty towards staff. They can kick you out any moment. You know, a TV production that is not well received, everybody is out. That's why there are so many freelancers. It sounds nice, but there are people who are begging for jobs. So if you are managing a Christian organization, it's your role as a leader to try to provide some kind of a stability. And it means you really must work together with all your staff to have a vision and to have a direction and to have a financial model that works. And in our condition, from the very beginning, we decided to charge money. You know, there are 3 kinds of companies. We all know or organizations. It's non-profit organizations. Who of you is working for a non-profit? Okay, most. The second are for-profit. We all understand what it is. But there is a third group of companies that I call zero-profit companies. And this is what we actually have. It means we have a non-profit umbrella organization, and then we have 3 for-profit companies. But 100% of the and those 3 companies are owned by the umbrella organization. And 100% of the profit generated in the lower category is brought to the top category. And that's why I call it zero profit, because it must be managed properly according to the standards of the industry. But then when you generate profit, you don't put it to your pocket. I'm not an owner of our stuff at all. It's owned by the Lord. And this is a model that works for us. I'm not saying it must be for everybody, but you know, more and more people and more donors are fed up with organizations who are coming every year and asking for more and more money because we need more, because we want to continue, because you know, we will need to close down if you will not give us. And you know, that's not a very sexy ask. So in this condition, you really end up with a tremendous frustration. Why not thinking over? Of course, depends what you do, because if you are a direct evangelist and you go with tracts, okay, it's hard to make money on it, okay? Unless you look so poorly that people out of mercy will. But try to find some models, particularly in media. You know, sell something if you can. If you write articles, it has a value. We have several web pages. We have some 60 web pages in Polish. And one of them is, I don't know what to think about it, a long title, but this is general subjects that are somehow connected with Christianity, but more with a Christian viewpoint. And we have around 20 authors who are writing for it, and we pay them. And we have no problems to have articles. Do you have problems when you ask people to write for you? That's the answer. Pay them. Pardon? Sorry, you are a leader. That's your problem. No, I'm joking, but you know, the thing is that there must be a model, because it's a matter of honesty. As you need money to survive, everybody else is also needing the money. So look for a model, or at least prepare a long-term model that one day would allow it to finance. Because, you know, there are many investors into Kingdom who look for good projects, but there must be always a light in the tunnel. Not like, oh, you know, I want a car. Well, I also want a car. It's not enough. What is behind? How are you going to grow the whole thing? Okay, so those are the 5 points. Of course, this list could be much more to the list. but one of the common denominator is that one of the responsibilities of the leader, of the manager, is to have a clear vision on finances. And he is responsible for finances. Particularly in non-profits, the leader of a non-profit is the best guy to fundraise. In some huge organizations, they will have full departments for it and so on, but it's a leader who should be the biggest visionary, and he should feel responsibility to find money for the ministry. And if they have no money, then it's a big question mark, does God really want them to do it? And we were several seasons in unbelievably difficult financial situations, but somehow the Lord has put a narcosis on us, and we didn't see it like that. We are struggling. We brought everybody on our staff to the lowest, including us, to the lowest state allowance. This was at the time 600 zloty. And simply we had to survive somehow because the radio was sinking at that time. And we had to pay for electricity. It was more important than anything else. Because if they would switch the radio off, then it's off, you know. So I know what it means. Sometimes there are periods when you are slow. That's okay. It happens. But when there is a tendency that there is no money, and in 2 years even less money, then you should re-examine what should we change. That's why all the innovation. That's why brainstorming. The good news is that media is one of the areas that is most innovative and open. Another thing there are most opportunities in media. That's what I mean by that. Often people ask how to get good ideas and good projects. Okay, yes, we have a group of people, but we would really like to make something great. And there are 3 things that I would like to quote here. The first one, it sounds bad, but it's used 95%. It's imitation. If something works somewhere, copy it. That's what everybody is doing, but Christians, you know, we are shy. We will never admit it. Imitation. If something works somewhere, somebody had a bright idea, use the same. Try it in your place. I must say that in our organization development, we in Poland, we have been pioneering a lot of things. And 90% of it was imitation. Yes, I was traveling, I was seeing something working in America, something. We started in Poland in 60s, with 70s, actually 68, with recording spoken word cassettes. Nobody else before us was doing it. And in America, this was already a big standard in Western Europe. Then we started with the recorded music. Oh, everybody, novelty. And I saw it, how it's done abroad. So why not having it in Poland? So in a way, it was very easy. Just to see, to transplant, to grow, and to develop. So that's number 1 way of finding good projects. Number 2 is improve. If something works well, then go for it, but add something. Try, analyze. This is key essential, particularly if you are in internet work. The wording you are using makes all the difference. By using proper words, you may have double or triple result. If you are sending a newsletter, the key thing is to have a good title in a subject line. Don't write newsletter number 2071. It's 0. But if you say, whoa, I just came back from Bangladesh and escaped a run from mountain lion, then everybody will open it. Because it's interesting. So wording is very important. Improve, improve, improve. Nothing stays for long, you know. Web pages should be updated every 6 months, the latest. I'm not talking about news web pages, of course, or church web pages, because usually they are updated once when they are created and then 20 years later. That's the standard. And so, you know, that's this kind of a line. And of course, we talk about massive change of the habits. You all know it. I was mentioning this. It's streaming versus disk, streaming versus FM and DAB. That is also, I think, a wrong standard now, at least from Polish perspective, because internet is really a new era. People are not aware even today how important, how a revolutionary change it was and is all the time. You know that I just read recently the number of phones, mobile phones on the globe is 108%. Globally. I'm not talking smartphones, but phones. 108%. So it means that more phones than people. Of course, they are featured phones, so most of them in India, in Africa, but with some of the newest smartphones that are less than $30, it will be just a matter of 1 or 2 or 3 years that everybody will have access to everything, if he knows English. So, change also. What is the problem of internet? What is the biggest problem of internet? It's a problem of monetizing it. You do a lot of work, and it's very hard to get money for it. And the newspapers are now fighting. They try to get subscriptions online, but it's going pretty slow. People don't like to pay. They will finally, as it happens with music, Spotify, other services. It's so inexpensive. It's incredible. If somebody is today pirating music, he is really a thief. He's a sinner. In contemporary version of scripture, it should be written. It's a sin. So that's another important thing. Then what are the other challenges? Incredible competition because of low entry threshold. And again, we have no time to go deeper into the subject, but don't be afraid to experiment, to try, to test, and perhaps you would be the lucky one whose films will be viewed by millions. And it's not important to have a big budget now, because ideas count even more than ever. So, you know, again, God, please give us wisdom. That's what we heard today in the morning. John Piper's talk, you know, prayer, prayer, prayer. That's where we get our inspiration. And another challenge as far as media, there are general expectations or even faster and more specialized news and information. People would like to know what will happen tomorrow, almost, on news. It's crazy. But there is such an unbelievable fight. Those real-time broadcasts, it's a standard. You know, in the stock exchange or in money exchange, that's why banks put billions of dollars into newest computers, into newest satellite systems. Why? Because we are talking about, they are all automatic systems. So who has a faster automatic? Who makes a decision in a smaller particle of a second? He will win. That's the speed. That's a crazy world in which we work. But you know, facts are friendly. We shouldn't be upset with it. We should work with it. And the internet becoming very democratic tool, as we all know, opening literally all the markets to knowledge and participation. Then, of course, the exponential growth of any information, I'm sure you have been talking about it on this track, brings a tremendous chaos and saturation. More and more people are switching off their phones because they don't want to listen too much. I am not interested. because I am not often interested in some of the news that are constantly being sent to my phone or to whatever. And there are several other points we could follow along this line, but how could we restructure to win in new circumstances? Again, define our conviction, what we stand for. And as a spiritual media connected with biblical teaching, one of the points is really to understand that liberal media and liberal church is falling apart. I mean liberal church, not so much liberal media, unfortunately, but because there is no truth in it. If you have a watered down poison, it's still a poison. So that's why staying true to Bible, because there is this supernatural power that we can release if we use the proper message. And the world is tired of religion and is really attracted in looking at people's model of life. Why are you doing this or that? Why are you who you are? My youngest son is right now in Salzburg working for one IT company, and he was the only guy in a company of 110 people who had a wedding ring. Nobody out of 110 guys is married. Of course, they have kids, they have some ladies they live with. And they were asking him, why do you do it? So, we know what I am trying to say, yes, And I am ready also, what I said before, that the world is preparing for a new format of the church. We don't know how this would look. But some of the forms we have been used to are no more inviting to new people who really want to become followers of Jesus. And I don't have a good answer, and we have enough theologians in this building to be better than me on this subject. But I'm convinced something new is being prepared by the Holy Spirit and by God, so that we would just look afresh at Jesus, His message, His salvation, grace, yes, everything by grace. Beautiful truth. And human spiritual needs are still the same, and again and again and again, all the analysis prove that 60% of people in the world are interested in spirituality. I'm not talking about religion, I'm not talking about church, I'm talking about spirituality. So there is a real need that we could meet. What general changes should be considered? Well, the first obvious one, era of huge Christian organizations and big leaders is over. The days of Billy Graham, of some of the top leaders, Bill Bright, big organizations, this is over. Each one of you could make a program that would be incredible. I mentioned in the beginning, Henryk, one person. What a response. He got 15,500 written testimonials back from people. Respond to one email. Daily email. Unbelievable. Where are the big organizations? You know what? All of them, they would like to buy it. We would buy you, we will do, it will be ours. Oh, how wonderful we are. We are. So that's how it goes, friends. And changing organizational culture, changing it's very important. Being open for all the changes, being open to opportunities that are better than ever. All what is needed is a conviction from the Lord and hard work. And managing then organizations would be a simple thing if you would follow the word of God.